So, Dagger in the Night, based on 2 Chronicles 24:17, 2 Kings 12. Under the guidance of Jehoiada, so that's the high priest, Joash destroys the temple of Baal and leads his people back to the worship of God. The house of God is repaired, and for years Judah prospers. But when Jehoiada dies, Joash is too weak to stand up under the pressure of those who want to turn him away from God. So, under Jehoiada, King Joash was good, but then Jehoiada died, and he didn't have that counsel, and he went away from God. So finally, after being away from God for so long, Jehoiada's son Zechariah goes to the king. Zechariah says to King Joash, "King Joash, I speak to you as my father would speak. You and your people are forsaken God. Judah will be destroyed unless you stop them." As soon as Zechariah leaves, Joash's advisors give their advice. Zechariah is a troublemaker. He should be put to death before he turns all of Judah against you. You're right, stir up the people so they will get rid of him. And so Joash, who was once a good king, listens to evil advice. Zechariah, the son of the man who had saved Joash's life, Jehoiada, was stoned to death by a mob, and soon his prophecy of disaster comes true. Zechariah's predicted disaster comes soon. An attack by the king of Aram. During the attack, Joash is wounded, and his evil advisors are killed. In an attempt to save Jerusalem, Joash tries to buy off the enemy. His wound is too serious for him to leave the palace, so he sends a messenger, and they send a bunch of gifts. "Gifts from my lord, King Joash." These are what the servants are telling the king of Aram. "King Aram, please do not kill King Joash of Judah. These are all the riches we have in our temple. He asks you that you accept them and leave Jerusalem in peace." So King of Aram said, "Tell your king I accept his offer." And King Joash is spared. How is the king today? No better, no worse. Too bad the Arameans didn't kill the king along with the evil men who advised him to murder Zechariah. With them gone, we could save Judah if it weren't for... That night when all the palace is asleep, remember, we're doing this to save our country. So King Joash is murdered by his own men. And then for almost 100 years, Judah is ruled by kings who waver between worshiping God and heathen idols. During this period, God sends prophet after prophet to warn the people of their wicked ways. Some prophets do better than others. That was based on 2 Chronicles 24:17-27 and 2 Kings 12, called Dagger in the Night. And so to recap, you had the high priest, Jehoiada, who was given guidance to Joash, and then under his guidance, Joash is going to destroy the temple of Baal. It looks like B-A-A-L, but Baal-zebub, Beelzebub. And the temple of Baal, the temple of Beelzebub, Baal is another name for Lord. And so there's 2 temples that was fighting. So essentially they were just saying that one Jewish sect was more important than the other Jewish sect. And so the people that was on the side of the temple of Baal were against the people that was, Jehoiada. Jehoiada, I guess he was the temple of whoever, Jehovah. So you had the people that believed in, Baal, the Lord, and then you had people that believed in Jehovah, the Lord, right? So you had 2 groups of Jewish sects that had believed in 2 different gods. They named their god a different name, and it's actually kind of remarkable how that still carries on. What? The name of your God is what? Baal. No, that's not right at all. King Joash is going to be like the first king that actually put the Jews on the map. There's going to be a the temple in Jerusalem is going to get built. And then it's, the priest of the temple of Jerusalem is going to have, national importance. So King Joash is going to rebuild the temple, puts all the money in. That's what the whole point of 2 Kings 12 is. And it goes on and on, actually, into real specifics about who did the money and did what. And then, Jehoiada is going to rebuild the temple by all the money goes to him. And then they were going to give it to the carpenters and the builders, the masons and the stone cutters. They purchased timber and blocks of dressed stone for the repair of the temple of the Lord. They also, the money brought into the temple was not spent for making silver basins, wick trimmers, sprinkling bowls, trumpets, or any other articles of gold or silver for the temple of the Lord. It was paid to the workers who used it to repair the temple. They did not require an accounting from those to whom gave the money to pay the workers because they acted with complete honesty. The money from the guilt offerings and sin offerings was not brought into the temple of the Lord. It belonged to the priest. About this time, the guilt offerings, the Hazael, king of Aram, went up and attacked Gath and captured it. Then he turned to attack Jerusalem, but Joash, king of Judah, took all the sacred objects dedicated by his predecessors, Jehoshaphat, Jehoram, and Ahaziah, the kings of Judah, and the gifts he himself had dedicated, and all the gold found in the treasuries of the temple of the Lord and the royal palace, and sent them to Hazael, king of Aram, who then withdrew from Jerusalem. As for the other events of the reign of Joash and all he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Judah? His officials conspired against him and assassinated him at Beth Millo on the road to Silla. The officials who murdered him were Jozabad, son of Shemeath, and Jehozabad, son of Shomer. He died and was buried with his ancestors in the city of David, and Amaziah, his son, succeeded him as king. So Joash is the 8th king of Judah. He's going to rule for 61 years. The cult of Baal is the Tyranian cult. Let's see, Hadad, Beelzebub, Baal. Baal. I always thought it was the golden calf was Baal because they're the devils. They're the ones that follow the false idols, the false gods. But really, I have no idea what the people of Baal even believes, or what the people of Jehovah, I don't know what they believe either. So, but the message is clear. What the Bible is saying that when people are with God, everything is good. When they go away from God, then everything turns to shit. I do believe that there's a Christian consciousness that has been established as a foundation for Western civilization for a really long time. And so there, needs to, I would think that something smarter or better, the Enlightenment. I think the Enlightenment had a lot of good. So, yeah, the Christian consciousness is the current foundation, and either it will be built upon or it will be replaced with something better. But for right now, the consciousness of Christianity has kind of taken the world over, just like democracy and capitalism and so the story of King Joash, and so he lives for he reigns over Judah for 61 years, so that's a long time, 6 decades, and the main story is that you have Zechariah says, you're doing wrong, and then he gets killed by stoning, and then later on, when he's invaded by the king of Aram, Joash saves himself by, selling all those silver and gold trinkets and all that, but Joash's his own men are going to kill him. And so Zechariah's prophecy comes true. Zechariah says, you had turned away from God, therefore disaster is going to come. And then they killed Zechariah. And here's what they said about Zechariah. So 2 Chronicles 24:20, starting out. And the Spirit of God clothed Zechariah, the son of Jehoiada, the priest, And he stood above the people and said unto them, Thus saith God, Why transgress ye the commandments of the Lord, that ye cannot prosper? Because ye have forsaken the Lord, he hath also forsaken you. And they conspired against him, and stoned him with stones at the commandment of the king in the court of the house of the Lord. Thus Joash the king remembered not the kindness which Jehoiada his father had done to him, but he slew his son. And when he died, he said, The Lord look upon it and require it. Now, I don't know who he is. When he died, he said, so I take this to be two things. King Joash is like, yes, the Lord wanted, Zechariah to die. The Lord look upon it, require it. That's what the Lord says. Or it's Zechariah himself saying, the Lord says this is what, has to happen. I told King Joash that his kingdom was coming to an end, and he killed Zechariah, therefore he brought his own end. But I don't know the chronology, I don't know the timeline of all this. 61 years, right? So is it exactly like that? The people of the Bible definitely want to, the authors of the Bible, the author of Chronicles and Kings, definitely want you to believe that King Joash got killed by his own men. He bankrupted Jerusalem. King of Aram came and killed, basically took over all his wealth. His own men is going to kill King Joash, and so therefore, Zechariah was right. Zechariah was right. King Joash, under the counsel of Jehoiada, was terrific. He was with God, runs away from God, the son of Jehoiada. Zechariah says, you need to get back to God. He doesn't go back to God. And then look what happens. Look what happens. So, yeah, this is important because the first time the temple in Jerusalem was built, they went on and on about how they paid the, stonemasons. So by paying the workers directly, that's how the temple in Jerusalem got built. By giving it to everybody, all these bureaucrats and shit, they pocketed and nothing ever got done. It said 23 years. On the 23rd year, they're like, hey, this temple's not done. Yeah, I guess not. 23 years. I told you he was going to do 23, and here's 23. And then it says that Joash is too weak. Joash was not a man. He turned away from God. He turned away from God. Zechariah told him to come back to God. He didn't go back to God, so that's why Joash's own men killed him. And then for the next 100 years, Judah is going to go back and forth between those who love God and those who are against God. So, yeah, some of the Jews used to call their God Baal. So Beelzebub is just propaganda for another religion. Those Jews are not worshiping God the way that you should. Us Jews know how to worship God properly. I think it's, one last thing. So people are trying to figure out, who is this? Zechariah. Who is this Zechariah? Is this Zechariah? Jesus actually mentions Zechariah. He mentions Zechariah when he's sitting there telling the Pharisees that they've done wrong. So let's see. Let's find Zechariah here. Oh, where is Zechariah? Zechariah, where are you? So Zechariah ben Jehoiada. So this is Zechariah of Jehoiada, the son of Jehoiada. There's a picture here, the murder of Zechariah. They said it's at the court. Okay, so this is what Jesus said.